Bought a worthless armored ship for pocket change at Galactic auction. The galaxy wasn't ready for what happened next. The Galactic auction hall was alive with chaos. Ships of every shape and size hovered in the air, displayed on glowing platforms, while traders, smugglers, and wealthy collectors shouted over each other, bidding fiercely. The air smelled of ozone and burnt fuel, a scent familiar to anyone who had spent years traveling through space. Among the crowd of confident aliens with polished armor and gleaming tech, a lone human made his way through the throng. Jace Renner was not the richest man in the galaxy, nor the most experienced. His clothes were simple, his boots scuffed from countless journeys, and the small pouch of credits he carried could barely afford a crate of supplies, let alone a ship. Yet he moved with quiet confidence, his eyes scanning each vessel with a mixture of curiosity and instinct. Most of the ships were spectacular, sleek warships capable of vaporizing fleets, luxury cruisers that could house dozens of dignitaries in comfort, and experimental alien vessels with designs that seemed to defy the laws of physics. But Jace's attention was drawn to something entirely different. It was a battered, gray-hulled armored ship, sitting alone in a shadowy corner of the hall. Its hull was scratched and dented, the paint faded, and warning signs labeled it obsolete, not recommended for flight. Even the auctioneer skipped over it, moving quickly to the next shiny prize. Jace smiled. Most beings in the galaxy valued appearances more than substance. They couldn't see potential if it wasn't obvious. But humans had a strange knack for seeing value in what others ignored. He approached the platform and inspected the ship. Its nameplate was almost worn away, Haven, but there was something about the vessel that felt right. He ran his hand along the cold metal of the hull and felt vibrations, subtle but alive. It hummed faintly, as if waiting for someone who knew what to do. The auctioneer's voice boomed, announcing the bids on another ship across the hall. No one noticed Jace as he stepped forward. He had no intention of competing with the wealthy bidders for a warship or a cruiser. He was here for something else, something the galaxy didn't see. Minutes later, the auctioneer finally glanced at the old armored ship. Next item, an outdated armored transport, hull integrity at 50%, engine unstable. Starting bid, 10,000 credits. A murmur ran through the crowd. 10,000 credits for a useless ship. Some traders chuckled. One alien, a blue-skinned officer from the Rhinex Empire, raised his clawed hand and bid 20,000. The others laughed, shaking their heads. Jace didn't hesitate. He raised a single hand, offering 5 credits. The hall went silent. The auctioneer blinked, unsure he had heard correctly. "Did you say 5 credits?" "Yes," Jace said, his voice calm. 5 credits." Laughter erupted. The Rhinex officer bellowed a mocking laugh. "This human is joking." Jace's lips curved into a small smile. "I never joke when I see opportunity." The auctioneer shook his head, unsure whether to call security, but no one else dared bid against the human. In a final, bemused gesture, he banged the gavel. "Sold. 5 credits to Jace Renner." The hall erupted in laughter again. Jace could hear whispers, comments about how foolish he was, how he had just wasted a tiny fortune on a worthless relic. He didn't care. He had seen what others had ignored. It took hours to transport the ship from the auction hall to a nearby docking bay. Jace watched as workers struggled with the old armored vessel, muttering about its poor condition. The ship looked smaller in person than in the catalog, but it had a rugged charm, a promise hidden beneath its battered exterior. Finally, Jace stepped aboard. The interior was dimly lit, the control panels dusty, some displays cracked. The seats were torn, the floors scuffed, and the engines looked as if they hadn't been fired in years. He laughed softly. "All right, Haven," he said, touching the central console. "Let's see what you're really made of." The ship responded immediately. A faint hum ran through the deck, subtle at first, then growing stronger. Lights flickered across the control panels, and the main display activated, revealing systems that no one at the auction hall had noticed. Jace's eyes widened. Hidden beneath the layers of dust and disuse, the ship contained alien technology far beyond human engineering. Adaptive shields, a self-repairing hull, energy converters that could power weapons without fuel, even stealth systems that could hide the ship from the most advanced scanners. But there was more. A strange interface in the captain's seat seemed to recognize him. When he placed his hand on it, holographic schematics appeared, labeling systems in human-readable language, even though the tech was alien in origin. It was as if the ship had been waiting for someone like him. Hours passed as Jace explored the ship. He tested engines, repaired minor damage, and experimented with the alien systems. Slowly, he realized the truth. This was no ordinary armored transport. It was a hidden gem, one that the galaxy had completely underestimated. As he prepared to take the ship out for a test flight, Jace received a message on his comm. It was from Tara Vex, a fellow human trader and friend. "You actually bought that thing?" she asked, disbelief in her voice. "I did," Jace replied. "And I think the galaxy just made a huge mistake." Tara laughed. "If you say so, just don't get yourself killed before I can see it." He smiled. "Trust me, this ship, it's going to change a lot more than just my luck." With a deep breath, Jace activated the engines. The old armored ship roared to life, vibrations shaking the floor beneath his feet. Lights glowed brighter, systems hummed in harmony, and the hull seemed to settle, as if waking from a long slumber. Jace maneuvered the ship out of the docking bay. Other vessels in the area barely registered him. After all, Haven looked like a relic. But once they saw the glow of the engines and the precision of his flight, they paused, curiosity flickering in their eyes. The ship handled beautifully. Despite its outward appearance, it was fast, agile, and responsive. Its adaptive shields flickered in a dance of energy, ready to absorb impacts that would destroy a conventional vessel. Jace grinned. "Not bad for a 5-credit investment," he murmured. He set a course for the outskirts of the sector, eager to test the ship further. The galaxy believed the human had bought a worthless relic. They were wrong. So very wrong. In the shadows of deep space, Haven revealed its hidden potential. Alien sensors might see a battered transport, but humans could see opportunity, value, and potential. And in this universe, that simple difference could mean the line between obscurity and legend. As Jace navigated through asteroid fields and empty trade lanes, he began to plan his next moves. There were colonies that needed help, pirate gangs terrorizing remote systems, and a galaxy that had yet to understand the resilience and ingenuity of humans. He smiled, thinking ahead. Let them laugh, let them underestimate us. They won't be laughing for long. And in the cold, endless expanse of space, the small, battered armored ship carried not just a human pilot, but the promise of something far greater, a reminder that sometimes, what the galaxy dismisses as worthless is actually the most powerful weapon of all. Jace Renner piloted Haven through the dark reaches of space, far from the prying eyes of the major galactic powers. The stars stretched endlessly before him, silent witnesses to what many believed was nothing more than a human fool with a broken ship. Yet Jace knew the truth. Haven was far from worthless. It was a sleeping giant, filled with technology no alien civilization had fully understood, and with him at the controls, it was ready to awaken. The first few days were spent testing. Jace navigated through asteroid fields, accelerating the ship to speeds he didn't think possible for an obsolete vessel. The adaptive shields flickered like liquid, absorbing impacts from drifting rocks and small meteors with ease. The self-repairing hull patched dents almost instantly. The alien energy converters allowed him to fire experimental pulse weapons without consuming a single unit of fuel. Each success fueled his excitement. Jace smiled often, muttering to himself, They laughed at me. They had no idea what I bought. He decided the first mission would be small but meaningful. A remote colony, Veshara Prime, had been under constant harassment by pirate raiders. The locals had few defenses, and calls for help to the Galactic Council went unanswered. It was the perfect opportunity to test Haven and to show what humans could do. Approaching the colony, Jace activated the ship's stealth system. Haven faded from scanners and visual detection, leaving only a faint shimmer in the starlight. He slipped past the pirate fleet patrolling the sector like a shadow. Inside the fleet, the alien raiders were confident. "No human could dare challenge us," one of them sneered. "They are weak, fragile, insignificant." Jace grinned behind his console. That was exactly what he wanted them to think. With a quick series of maneuvers, he positioned Haven behind the largest pirate cruiser. He activated the pulse weapons. Bright energy arcs leapt from the ship, striking the cruiser's engines. The vessel lurched, sparks flying, and drifted helplessly toward the nearest asteroid. Panic spread among the raiders. "What is that?" one screeched. Jace chuckled. Just a human with a ship they thought worthless. Within minutes, the remaining pirate ships attempted to regroup, but Haven's stealth and agility allowed Jace to strike again and again. The fleet's overconfidence worked against them. Ships collided with debris and fled. The pirates never even realized what had truly attacked them. By the time the smoke cleared, Veshara Prime was free. Jace landed in the colony's main port, still in stealth mode, and watched the locals cautiously emerge from shelters. Their eyes widened when they saw the battered but strange ship, a human vessel unlike any they had ever seen. A young colonist ran up to Jace, shouting, Who are you?" "I'm just a traveler," Jace said with a smile. "You can call me a friend." The humans on the colony stared at him in awe, but Jace wasn't here for glory. He had a greater purpose. "Make sure to tell the others," he said. "Humans might not look strong, but we never give up. Remember that." After leaving Veshara Prime, Jace set a course for the outer edges of human-inhabited space. News of his intervention began to spread, carried by merchant vessels and travelers. Aliens whispered about a strange human ship appearing where it shouldn't, defeating entire pirate fleets and vanishing without a trace. Meanwhile, the galactic powers continued to underestimate humans. In the council chambers of the Soren Empire, diplomats discussed the threat of humanity. "They are insignificant," one ambassador said. "A few colonies, weak technology, nothing to worry about." But Jace's successes were quietly accumulating, and his legend grew faster than any council could monitor. He decided to take his next step. If pirates could be outsmarted with stealth and precision, larger fleets could be manipulated with strategy and cunning, something humans excelled at. He plotted a course to Kryn's sector, a disputed region where alien species fought over resources. A coalition fleet patrolled the area, claiming authority over the trade routes, but their coordination was poor. Jace smiled at the opportunity. Haven could simulate multiple attack vectors. Its AI-assisted systems allowed him to analyze the enemy fleet and predict their movements. He realized that brute force would be unnecessary. Clever tactics and the element of surprise would be enough. The first skirmish was thrilling. Jace used the ship's adaptive shields to absorb initial missile volleys, then maneuvered behind the fleet. The alien commanders were confident, expecting an easy victory over a human ship. But Haven's pulse weapons struck with precision, disabling engines, communication arrays, and weapon systems in a calculated sequence. Chaos erupted. Ships collided. Fleets turned against each other accidentally due to Jace's careful manipulation of signals and holographic decoys. By the time the alien commanders realized the threat, Jace was gone, Haven hidden again in stealth mode, leaving no trace but wreckage and confusion. For Jace, it was exhilarating. For the aliens, it was terrifying. For humanity, it was a quiet victory, a demonstration of human ingenuity over superior technology. Days later, as Jace navigated toward a remote supply station, a new challenge appeared. A rogue mercenary fleet, faster and more aggressive than any pirate group, attempted to block his path. Unlike the pirates, they were professional, coordinated, and heavily armed. Jace studied them carefully. A direct confrontation would be dangerous, but he didn't panic. Humans thrived on thinking differently. He devised a clever strategy: lure them into an asteroid field. Haven's agility in tight spaces allowed him to weave between massive rocks, while the alien ship struggled. Collisions were inevitable. As the mercenary fleet faltered, Jace used Haven's pulse weapons and decoys to further confuse them. Within hours, the once imposing mercenary force was scattered, damaged, or fleeing entirely. Through every battle, every maneuver, Jace realized something profound. Humans were underestimated because other species measured strength only in numbers and firepower. Humans measured strength in adaptability, creativity, and courage, the qualities that allowed Haven and its pilot to outthink entire fleets. Word of these events began to spread quietly through galactic networks. Traders, smugglers, and colonists whispered about the mysterious human and his strange armored ship. No one knew who he was, or how he seemed to appear and vanish at will, but everyone understood the same thing: humans were more dangerous than anyone expected. Yet Jace remained cautious. He didn't seek war, glory, or conquest. His goal was simple: prove that humanity could survive, thrive, and defend itself even when the galaxy doubted them. He took a moment in the quiet of space, sitting in the captain's chair of Haven, looking out at the stars. The ship had become more than a vessel. It was a symbol of human potential, of what could be achieved with courage and ingenuity. Jace knew the galaxy would eventually notice. Larger powers, aware of the strange events in remote sectors, would investigate. They would assume it was a simple anomaly, a minor human uprising that could be crushed easily. They were wrong. Humans were nothing if not resourceful. Over the next few weeks, Jace continued his missions. He helped isolated colonies, outwitted rival fleets, and repaired systems that had been abandoned for decades. Each success added to Haven's legend. Each victory reminded him that sometimes, what the galaxy dismissed as worthless could become the most powerful force in existence. One night, as Jace plotted his course for a quiet sector to test a new energy converter, he received an encrypted message on Haven's comm system. The sender was unknown, but the message was clear: "We are aware of your actions. Human, stop or face consequences." Jace leaned back in his seat, a grin spreading across his face. "Finally," he said softly, "they're noticing." Haven hummed around him, alive with energy, responsive to his thoughts, almost eager for the challenges to come. Jace felt a thrill run through him. The galaxy believed humans were weak. They had no idea what humanity was capable of when underestimated. He responded to the message with a single line: "Try me." With that, Haven launched into hyperdrive, disappearing into the darkness of space. And somewhere in the council chambers of distant empires, alien leaders murmured in disbelief. "A single human ship," one said. "It cannot be possible." But it was possible. Humans had already begun to rewrite the rules of the galaxy, not with sheer force, but with intelligence, creativity, and the unshakable determination to survive and thrive. The galaxy was about to learn the hard way that humans were not just another species. They were unpredictable, they were clever, and when underestimated they could accomplish the impossible. Jace leaned forward, eyes on the glowing stars ahead. The game had just begun. Jace Renner floated in the captain's chair of Haven, the battered but extraordinary armored ship that had become his partner, his tool, and his shield. The stars stretched endlessly outside the viewport, but the quiet of space was deceiving. Somewhere out there, the galaxy's major powers were stirring. The encrypted message he had received days ago had not been idle. Alien fleets from 3 major empires, The Rhinax Dominion, Sauran Empire, and Kryn Coalition were converging on the outer human sectors. Their intention was clear: eliminate the human threat once and for all. Most humans would have panicked. Most humans would have retreated. But Jace had something the galaxy still underestimated. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and relentless. He activated Haven's main console and began analyzing the incoming fleets. The alien ships vastly outnumbered him. Hundreds of vessels, battle cruisers, destroyers, and agile fighters were streaming toward his position. They assumed their superior firepower and numbers would overwhelm a single human ship. They were wrong. Haven hummed in response, almost as if it understood the gravity of the moment. The ship's adaptive systems sprang to life. Shields rearranged themselves, energy converters hummed at full power, and the stealth protocols prepared to confuse enemy sensors. Jace leaned forward. "Time to show them what humans can do," he muttered. The first wave arrived and the battle began. Missiles streaked through space, energy cannons flared, and the alien ship spread into formation. Jace didn't panic. Instead, he used Haven's advanced systems to analyze enemy formations in real time. He identified weak points in their coordination, gaps between cruisers, slow-reacting fighters, misaligned targeting systems. Then he struck. Using stealth and decoy projections, Haven appeared simultaneously in multiple locations. Alien sensors went haywire. Missiles fired at empty space while energy beams struck decoys instead of the real ship. The fleet commander's frustration grew. "Where is it? What is this human doing?" Jace smiled. "You'll see." Haven's pulse weapons fired in precise sequences, targeting engines and communications arrays. One by one, alien ships faltered. The Rhinax Dominion's battlecruisers collided with each other in confusion. The Sauran Empire's destroyers misfired, leaving gaps in their formation. Even the Kryn Coalition's agile fighters couldn't keep up with Haven's unpredictable maneuvers. The alien commanders were unprepared for what they faced. Their numbers and technology meant nothing against a human who could adapt faster than any algorithm they had. But Jace knew this would not be enough. The fleets were large, and his single ship, no matter how advanced, could not take them all down forever. He needed a plan, a human plan. He reached out through the comm system, sending encrypted signals to allied colonies and mercenaries who owed humanity favors. Within minutes, dozens of hidden human and neutral ships activated, joining Haven in a coordinated counterattack. Humans worked together, not with brute force, but with precision and creativity. One group used asteroid belts to ambush cruisers. Another jammed enemy sensors with clever interference. A third set launched decoy drones, forcing the alien ships into collisions and miscalculations. Jace watched the battle unfold like a master chess player. Each move was calculated, but also flexible. Humans could adapt in ways aliens could not predict. Hours passed and the alien fleets began to falter. Communication breakdowns, internal collisions, and strategic errors multiplied. Their pride turned to panic. Still, the empires refused to retreat, unwilling to admit that a single human pilot and a small fleet of support ships was dismantling their greatest forces. Jace decided it was time for the final move. Haven had one experimental system left: the energy amplification pulse, a hidden weapon that could disable all nearby electronics for a critical few seconds. If used at the right moment, it could turn the tide completely. He maneuvered Haven into the heart of the enemy fleet, dodging beams and missiles with near-impossible agility. His heart pounded, but his mind was clear. Timing was everything. Then he fired. A massive wave of energy radiated from Haven, and the alien ship's systems shuddered. Shields flickered and died, engines stalled, and weapons went offline. Confusion and chaos reigned. Humans and allied ships struck immediately, disabling enemy vessels, forcing retreats, and capturing the most critical positions. The battle was over. The alien fleets, humiliated and defeated, retreated into the void of space. The galaxy had seen something it had never expected. A human ship, alone and clever, had outmaneuvered and outsmarted an overwhelming force. Jace allowed himself a small smile. Haven had performed flawlessly, but more than the ship, it was humanity itself that had shined. Resourcefulness, intelligence, and determination had proven stronger than raw numbers. In the days following the battle, the story of Haven spread like wildfire. Traders whispered about the human who had destroyed fleets single-handedly. Colonies hailed him as a hero. Even alien species, reluctant to admit it, began reassessing the human threat. In the aftermath, Jace returned to a quiet sector to repair Haven and prepare for the next challenge. He didn't seek conquest. He sought proof that humanity could survive and thrive against impossible odds. Tara Vex contacted him again. "You did it," she said, awe in her voice. "You actually did it." "I didn't do it alone," Jace replied. "Haven helped, sure, but humans never give up. That's what made the difference." They shared a brief laugh. Humanity had survived, but Jace knew the galaxy would never underestimate humans again. That was just the beginning. As weeks passed, Jace continued to explore, protect, and innovate. He discovered hidden relics of alien civilizations, experimented with new ship technologies, and trained a small cadre of human pilots. Together, they became a force the galaxy could not ignore. The empires tried to rebuild their reputations after the defeat, but whispers of Haven haunted them. Reports of human ingenuity spread to sectors they had once ignored. Humans, long considered weak and insignificant, were now respected, feared, and admired. Jace often sat in the captain's chair, watching stars drift by, reflecting on the journey. He thought about how the galaxy had laughed when he bought Haven for a handful of credits, dismissing it as worthless. Now, the ship was legendary. So was humanity. One night, as he charted a course for a distant colony in need of aid, he spoke softly to Haven. "They still don't understand us," he said. "But they will. Eventually, they will see what humans are capable of. And when they do, they won't be ready." The ship hummed in agreement, energy flowing through its systems, alive and eager. Haven was no longer just a vessel. It was a symbol of human potential, ingenuity, and resilience. Jace smiled and engaged hyperdrive. The stars stretched into streaks of light as the ship leapt across space, carrying humanity's promise into the unknown. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges, threats, and mysteries, but humans had shown their worth. They had proven that resourcefulness and courage could outmatch raw power, that being underestimated could be a weapon in itself. And as Haven disappeared into the dark expanse, leaving a trail of stories, legends, and awe in its wake, the message was clear. The galaxy was not ready for humanity, but humanity was ready for the galaxy. The journey had only just begun.